The hour is 7 o'clock, and welcome to tonight's Westwood Planning Board meeting. We'll do a roll call vote for attendance. Kate?
Here.
Ellen?
Here.
Tom?
Here.
Dave?
Here.
And I'm here as well. I'm Chris Paff. I'll be chairing tonight's meeting. The meeting is recorded by Westwood Media Center and broadcast live on local cable television, Comcast Channel 12 and Verizon Channel 42. Meetings are also live on Westwood Media Center's YouTube channel. If you're having any trouble logging into Zoom, please go to zoom.us and click on Join Meeting and enter the meeting ID number 896-1822-1200. We will begin the meeting with only the board members and staff unmuted and on video. As the chair recognizes individuals to speak, we will unmute them. Board members may choose to mute themselves when they're not speaking in order to minimize background noise. For applications, the chair will first invite the applicants to address the board and give a presentation summarizing what is being requested. Board members receive the application materials prior to the meeting and will have reviewed them. Board members may ask questions during the following presentation, following the presentation. Staff and outside experts will provide comments to the board. If the issue includes a public hearing, the board will then proceed to public comment portion of the public meeting and will restate the instructions. In this remote meeting format, residents and guests may participate in several ways. Attendees should raise their hand and wait to be unmuted and recognized to speak over the Zoom meeting application or from telephone dial-up. We will be able to hear you but not see you. Additionally, comments may be submitted by email or regular mail prior to the meeting. When we come to that part of the meeting, I will remind everyone of the process. Following the public comment portion, the board will deliberate and make a decision or continue the hearing to a specific future date. All remote meetings require the votes be done by roll call. When a motion and second has been made, the chair will ask if there's any further discussion before proceeding to a roll call vote, and will then restate the results of the vote. Abby, any changes to tonight's agenda?
No changes.
Okay. So first on the list is 174 University Avenue, a project-specific signage alternative. Is the applicant here?
Yes, I'm bringing in the applicant right now as a panelist. See. Richard, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Very good. I am Rich Pretorius Electric and Sign, West Bridgewater, Mass. Here for Casa Loca on University Ave. What we're seeking to do is they have a existing sign facing south. They would like to relocate it to the west side of the building. Basically because the south-facing sign is facing a tree in another building. It really doesn't do them much good. And if you're across the street at the shopping center, you can't see any signage or identification on the building. They have a so they wanted the south-facing sign. Yep, right there. Right now is in a configured as a stacked configuration. In order to relocate it, we'd have to put it on the in a single line. The Bonefish restaurant, which was in this location originally, had 3 signs plus a logo on the tower. We're proposing to move the existing sign to, there was a Bonefish sign there originally. When the Casa Loca went in, I don't know that they just didn't go after a third sign facing the Wegmans Plaza. So they would just like to we relocated, because right now the sign that they have, that sign really isn't visible unless you're sitting right at the lights. They're facing north and doesn't do them much good. So they would like to just relocate it to the west side, so they could have some, some visibility from the shopping center where most of the traffic is in that area.
Okay, that the extent of your presentation?
Well, the Bonefish, I was just saying that the Bonefish did have 3 signs plus a logo on the tower. They have the 2 signs plus the EAT logo on, I guess I'll call a logo on the tower. I don't believe this would be detrimental to relocate this sign. It would just help identify the building, and so people know that they're there. So that would be about it.
Okay. Looks like my video keeps stopping and starting. Abby, any staff comments?
No, I don't have any comments. In 2020, you reviewed their original sign package. It was under a section of the zoning bylaw and the signs for University Ave zoning district. It allows project-specific signage alternative where you can look at the whole property and review the sign package, which is what you did here. And I don't have any concerns about relocating the sign from one side of the building to the other.
Okay, open this up to board questions, comments. Any board members have any concerns or questions for the applicant? Okay. It's the exact same sign. We're just literally relocating.
Yes, we're just taking it down and moving it to the other side of the building.
Okay. Kate, did you have your hand raised? Okay, sorry, I thought I saw it. Okay, Abby, any other considerations or conditions? It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, Dave.
I'll make a motion to accept the applicant's request to relocate the sign from the south side of the building to the west wall. And based upon a finding that this proposal doesn't negatively affect traffic or the environment.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, we'll take a roll call vote. Ellen,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. So the motion is approved. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Hope this helps with business.
I think it will. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next on the list is an earth material movement for Summer Street. Address numbers 290, 294, and 298. Is the applicant here? Abby, bringing him in?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dan Merrick with Legacy Engineering.
Hello.
Want me to share my screen and go over the plan?
Sure.
Okay. Everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, good. So this is for 3 existing vacant lots on the west side of Summer Street, between 290, 298 Summer Street. If you look at this lot line right here, this is the current lot line, and then there's a second lot line here. We are, given the configuration of the wetlands in the property, the owners decided to re-subdivide the lots into 2 instead of 3. You don't see that very often. So we're here for an earth materials movement permit for these 2 lots. We're working on the A&R plan. It's not quite done yet. We will submit that, of course, before any building permits can be applied for. So 2 homes. This here, you can see I have the wetland in the back. We filed a notice of intent application. We have the single-family home with the driveway and a proposed pool. We have proposed drainage systems designed in accordance with the town's stormwater and land disturbance regulations, which basically consist of underground infiltration systems that capture roof runoff and driveway runoff. This one is at 290 Summer Street. And the second one is down the road a little further, and this would be 298 Summer Street, smaller home. We have some tough wetland constraints here, so that's why, you can see that's why we changed it from 3 lots into 2. So we have a front load garage with a smaller driveway in the front. Again, we have a stormwater management system designed to handle the runoff from the driveway and the house. Regarding earth materials movement, there's not a lot going on this lot. It's mostly this lot. The land here sits down below Summer Street a good distance. Everything slopes down off of Summer Street. So trying to basically bring the front yard of this house up so that it looks more in character with the topography around the site. So the net import is 3,500 yards. We have all the usual conditions and notes on the plan. We got comments from your engineer, and we added some details and provided some additional notations. And as far as I know, those have been resolved. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Abby, any comments from staff?
No other comments except for I had suggested as a condition of approval that you include submission of the A&R plan that consolidates the lots as shown on this plan be submitted prior to any building permits. Also a special condition that that there be certification that the fill is clean be submitted prior to bringing in any fill onto the property. And then standard conditions related to protecting Summer Street and having all the trucks carrying the earth material just go directly to and from the site from 109 to Summer Street, not travel on Grove Street. And that's it. I know the applicant has also filed with the Conservation Commission, and they're scheduled for a hearing tomorrow night with the Conservation Commission. And then, as the applicant mentioned, revised plans and the revised stormwater report was submitted in response to Beta's comments that they provided a couple weeks ago.
All right. Open it up to the board for any comments, questions, concerns. Can you stop sharing the screen?
Absolutely.
We can have access to our own computers. And I can see everyone again now. Any board questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, we go to any questions, comments from the public? Abby, do we have, I see no hands raised. We have nobody on the telephone, I assume. Okay. We have the usual conditions. Do we need to read those into the record? Abby, are there any waivers as well?
There are 5 waivers from the standard environmental impact design review, standard application requirements for the lighting plan, the traffic study, the presentation model, renderings and drawings, and a landscape plan.
So I'll make a motion to approve the requested 5 waivers from the standard AIDR submittal requirements, because they're not relevant to the construction.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the waivers? Seeing none, do a roll call vote. Tom? Dave?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Ellen?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. So the waivers are granted. Abby, do you want to read the conditions or a summary?
Sure, I'll summarize. The first one is about the project complying with the submitted plans. The second condition is submitting the A&R plan prior to issuance of any building permit with proof of submittal to the land court or registry to the planning office. Number 3, the existing pavement on Summer Street shall be protected from any damage during construction. Number 4 is that the crushed stone construction entrance be cleaned regularly so that to prevent tracking of dirt onto the road. Condition 5, that the fill should not contain any hazardous materials, and certification of the fill being clean be submitted to the town planner and building commissioner prior to bringing any fill on site. Number 6 is related to the town's construction hours, which is between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and then noon to 7 on Sundays. Number 7 is that the trucks shall only go directly to the Summer Street property from Route 109, not travel down Grove Street or any of the other side roads. Number 8 is related to the applicant's responsibility to file with other boards and committees such as the Conservation Commission. Number 9 is the applicant is responsible for repairing any damage that may be caused to the street after coordination with the Department of Public Works. And number 10, a condition of the decision kept on site at all times.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, without any further discussion, or I don't see any concerns by board members, I'll entertain a motion to accept the application.
Moved, based on, with the conditions that Abby summarized.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Tom,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Ellen,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Motion is passed.
Thanks for your time this evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Best of luck in your project. We'll see you in the A&R.
Thank you. Take care.
If you just vote to close the public hearing, please.
Right. Make
I'll
a
make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Ellen,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. The motion, the hearing is closed. So next on the list, you're waving, Abby? Do you have something?
Nope, just bye to the applicant. Thank you.
Oh, all right. I thought you had something to say before we move on. Next, I see the Hanlon Elementary School. Is that what's next on our list? Hanlon Deerfield School, yeah. You bringing in the applicants?
Yes, I'm bringing in the project team, several people here, so just a moment.
Abby, who's going to be leading us through this?
Rob Fitzgerald,
And we have members from the school committee as well joining us.
and Scott
Hi,
Ritter.
I'm Amanda Phillips. I'm here from the school committee. Sorry.
Hello, it's okay. All right. Mr. Fitzgerald, can you hear me?
Yes, good evening.
Hello.
How are you?
Welcome.
Thank you. Good to see everyone again. Tonight with me, I've got a number of people from our team. We've got Tim Bonfatti and Chin Lin with Compass, so the owner's project manager, Amanda Phillips, and Lema Jean-Baptiste from the representing the school district. then from our design team, we have Deborah Myers and Jeff Toma from DMLA Landscape Architects, Stephen Tresca and Brian Zamoka, both from Niche Engineering, and David Pereira from Garcia Galusca de Souza. And then also joining me from Dorn Whittier's Dahl Walter, one of the principals of the firm. So thank you very much for having us tonight. We've got kind of an update to our last hearing. I don't know if there's any, if you want me to just jump in and get started.
Sure.
Okay. So tonight we'll be providing some updates from our last hearing. Since then, we reviewed all of the comments that were provided from Beta Engineering, as well as staff review comments, and Steve Olenoff and the Commission on Disabilities. We have prepared responses to all of the comments provided and submitted those along with updated stormwater plans, stormwater report, landscaping, lighting, and traffic report as well. We received comments back in response to those, which appear that all those comments have been addressed, with the exception of stormwater. We believe all of the issues have been mostly resolved with that. The one thing that we're waiting on that is test pits. We've done some revisions based on the comments we received. And so we are requesting a continuation of the stormwater component of this package to your next meeting, so that we can have time to do the test pits that are needed and present those to Beta for review. Aside from that, we'll be updating you on some of the revisions that we've made with landscaping, lighting, accessibility, and traffic. And then we can take questions at any time. So I'll turn this over to Deb Myers to speak to the landscaping, unless, did someone have a question?
I don't think so. I think we'll wait
Okay.
until you're done.
Okay, all right. Deb, if you'd like to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rob, and thanks, Abby, and the planning board. I'll walk quickly through our response to the comments and sort of hit the highlights of the changes to the plans based on your feedback from our initial submission. So to add accessible parking and directly adjacent parking on the Scout House, so 8 spaces were added in the location highlighted in the oval. We also, in addition, created accessible paths between the Little League field and the soccer field. Really, we added some concrete for spectator seating, both on the left field line, to sort of pair with what we were already showing on the right. So there's complete parity both sides of the field. I think that was definitely an improvement, so we appreciate it. The bike racks are now all fully on concrete. I think this is definitely an improvement, so we're happy, to make those. And then another sort of on the other end of the site, we've more clearly delineating the fencing to separate, movement on the fire access trail with the programmed playground for the school itself. So highlighted in orange will be, excuse me, some permanent fencing along that through the woods of the site. In response to more screening for the Laura Lane residents, this diagram shows additional evergreen trees, both spruce and fir along that property line. Like I mentioned in the last hearing, I sort of show these as diagrammatic of quantities and numbers, but I would really like to, once the finished conditions are in place, really strategically place those plantings in the field to make sure they're really blocking both the residents as well as the school side of the site. The crosswalks, we added a little bit more detail in our response, but we did move the crosswalks closer to Gay Street as illustrated in these diagrams. It made the crossings a little bit longer, and they're still somewhat set back just for sort of site stopping, both coming in and out of the site. So we hope this is sort of meets your concerns for the crossings there.
Thank you, Deb. Now I'll pass this off to Dave Pereira to go over lighting updates.
Good afternoon. How are you? How's everyone doing? So we've updated our calculations and responded to some of the comments. So basically, we have 15-foot pole heights that are covering parking areas and drives. You can see the fixture types below. SL1, SL1-3, SL1-3HS. Those are just different optics depending on where they're located to get optimal illumination on the drives. We have 0 trespass beyond our property line. No uplight other than the flagpole lights. There's 3 flagpole lights that are, if someone could just point out where the flagpole is right there. Those will be adjustable so that you can aim to the flag to properly illuminate it. And we have added the chart with the average max and average max min, and we were asked to follow chart 4, which is for oh, wait a minute, that's light trespassing. We were requested to follow chart 3, I'm sorry. And this is for non-residential districts, and I think we are in a residential district. So we've done a really good job of maintaining average foot candle levels below the maximum. And we're slightly lower than our minimums on the average. And we feel that, the 0.2 foot candle levels and the parking areas is adequate for some security lighting. So you can see the fixture types that we're using below, some post-top fixtures, area lighting fixtures, and then under the canopies are linear surface mounted canopy fixtures. And that'll be, and that in addition to the type SL4s will be mounted to the building for egress lighting. That's pretty much it. Any questions regarding the lighting?
I had just a thought. I assume that if it's all fine on paper, but once put in place, if some of these are shining into people in Laura Lane, they're able to be adjusted to some extent or altered so that that doesn't continue, I assume.
So those poles are actually 15 feet, so they're pretty low to begin with. All light is, there's no uplight. So, and these fixtures are not glary at all. You can see the illumination is below, underneath the fixture itself. And we do have the ability, each fixture is going to be controlled with the automated lighting control system with a wireless unit. It's a 7-pin plug at the top of the unit. And we will have the ability to adjust or dim down fixtures that may be problematic. But at the given heights and the type of fixture we're using, I really don't see that as an issue.
Okay. I assume that to be the case. Just wanted to, sometimes you put things, theories into practice and they're a little different.
Yeah, no, and we would have the ability to control those lights individually, so that helps the situation.
Thanks.
Thank you, David. Moving on to accessibility updates. So we responded to all of the comments provided by the Commission on Disability, and we gave a presentation with the school district. Actually, it was led by the school district on the 28th of September to both the Commission on Disability and CPAC. And we outlined a number of improvements that we included to address some of the comments. One of those was adding some additional automatic door openers. So in addition to the front entrance doors, we added them to these rear doors leading out to and from the playground area. In addition to that, we presented a number of features and throughout the building and space improvements. So, for example, in the accessible toilet rooms, we've added some changing tables, both adult and child changing tables in the public section of the building per their request. There is an adaptive PE room directly adjacent to the gym, which has a therapeutic swing included in it. Of course, the seating integrated into the gym has integrated accessible seats. There's a wide range of special education programs that are integrated throughout the design, integrated with the normal spaces of the building. And the playground is fully accessible as well. And our presentation with the Commission on Disabilities was well received. Brian, would you like to go over any traffic updates?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I mean, I'm going to be quick with traffic because most of the comments that were addressed from Beta's comments are very technical. What we did want to highlight here, what Rob has on his presentation, is we did do a review of the pedestrian and bicycle activity. What we did not mention in the previous report was there is a mode share and there is a number of pedestrians and bicyclists that come to the school. We obtain that information by talking to school officials and in our initial site review. Essentially what we found is that 20% of transportation to the school is either walking or biking. And in the future, we anticipate it's only going to be those same students because they are local. So that's going to stay at 50 and reduce down to about 10%. With regards to the data, we actually, now that we are, within 2021, MassDOT has actually posted more data for 2020. So we had the opportunity to compare 2019 and 2020 data from their records to basically, per Beta's comments, analyze things and see the difference hourly instead of on a daily basis. Ultimately, the results were the same. Nothing really changed. Site distances per their recommendations or the comments, we looked into those at the crosswalk and those were confirmed or reconfirmed. So we're all within the guidelines. And those are really kind of the top things. Everything else, like I said, is really technical and is really kind of for Beta's technical review.
Thanks, Brian. So we've updated, provided the updated report to Beta for their review. And then I don't know, Abby, if you have any follow-up from them on any of the additional information that we've provided.
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like. We have Scott Ritter here from Beta Group. They reviewed, provided a report on Friday and then updated it today after reviewing the traffic information.
Okay, so I can certainly go through some of that. So we're all set with all the landscape comments. They all have been resolved. And the plan is really well thought out. Traffic, since we just went over that, the engineers in our office looked at that, and I think they're okay with all their with all the comments as well. I know they did have a couple of questions about the school zone flashing devices. Probably need a little coordination between, the town and the school and how that runs from a safety point of view. But everything else, certainly well addressed. Lighting, we looked at those comments as well, and they have all been addressed thoroughly as well. And drainage, I know Phil had asked for test pits that were talked about earlier. And those are going to be underway later in the month. And Phil did not see any reason why that the results of those test pits won't change the drainage design. Everything's going to work within the expected stormwater standards, and there shouldn't be any issues. It's just more of a fine look at it and make sure that everything does work.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
Board members have any questions for the applicant? Things you've heard? Things you've thought of in the last couple of weeks? All right. I have a question I'd like to ask the project architect. Is the project architect, he or she, with us tonight? Or I know it's a team, but the general, maybe it would just be you, Mr. Fitzgerald, I speak to this. I've received a couple questions from residents, and there's a concern. I think that some people have gotten a bit of a sticker shock. And I think what's on their mind is the cost of the high school that we encountered about in 2004, somewhere around there. And I don't think the question has been addressed, or the answer hasn't been brought up at this meeting, for this board. It may have been from the other, but I haven't seen it. The high school came in at somewhere around $45 million. And I know you weren't part of that. Taking into account inflation calculation, I believe that brings us to about 60 million for a high school. And some people are going to say the high school houses 1,000 kids. This school houses 560 some odd children. And I think some people are looking at maybe a $25 million gap of explanation. And I just wanted to know, and I'm not looking for a line item explanation, just in general, is there a way you could fairly simply or quickly, not simply, explain the differences that might explain the $25 or so million gap between that project and this project? I know it's a whole different site development. I know that internally it's not the general box of learning that a high school is. There's a whole lot more sophisticated learning accoutrements that go on in an elementary school. But can you speak to that at all? Is there anything these are questions people are asking me, and I think they're reticent to come in this public situation and ask in this format. So I'm asking for them, and it is a question in my mind as well, if there's a way we can explain that difference.
Sure. I mean, I can
Rob.
ask Don or Tim also to
Yep.
respond to that, because we have had this conversation. So yeah, Don, if you wanted to go ahead and jump in.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, Don Walter with Dorn Woody Architects. I think it's fair to say you can't do a straight escalation of what that building was almost 20 years ago to get to a current market cost of a new high school. If you go and look at the data actually provided by MSBA for comparable 1,000 student high schools, you could be anywhere from 160 to $200 million for a project like that, not 65 million doing a straight escalation calculation. So, and if you add into it the fact that you have a pool there, it would be somewhat more than that range that I just gave. So it's a fair question, but it's just not a straight escalation calculation.
And I think if I could just add to that, I'm Tim Bonfatti from Compass Project Management. And I think that some of the unfortunate, the misperception or the reason why people have that idea about the high school versus the elementary is because they apply consumer inflation to construction. And if you really historically go back and look, you'll see that the construction inflation is not related to consumer inflation, not to the CPI. So, you know, we've averaged probably 5% a year, and this year even worse because of some of the price spikes and that you've probably read about even. But the construction inflation over the last, since the recession, has probably been at about 5% a year, 4 to 5% a year, whereas consumer inflation has been maybe 1 to 2% a year even, you know, 3% at the most. So I think that's kind of where the misperception comes in, is people apply consumer inflation to a construction inflation. It just doesn't work. But as Don said, if you go to the MSBA website, they do a great job of sort of showing what construction has done since 2010. And you'll see, I mean, basically a high school, for instance, is about twice, dollars per square foot is even more than twice what it cost back then in 2010, 2004, obviously, you know, the numbers were different then even. So, but that's, I think, some of the misperception. I don't know if that.
I appreciate you responding to that. I think it is, as we coming up to town meeting and the election the week after, it's on top of everyone's mind. So I think in this, for this planning board meeting, I think it's important that those people who are with us get an opportunity to hear you respond to that. And again, you may have done it in a FinCom meeting or select board meeting, but the people here weren't necessarily part of that. So I just wanted to have an opportunity that they hear that response. Any other planning board member questions before we put it out to public comment? Yes, Tom.
Question for the architect. How satisfied are you that the number that you've put out on the cost of this building will reflect in the bids when you finally put it out to bid? You think it'll come in under that, over that? What are your thoughts on that? I'm just concerned that whoever's going to be bidding on this is going to look at the amount of money the town appropriates without a contract.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. McCusker. So the process that we go through and that we've been through is that we've had a number of cost estimates leading up to this point, both from 2 different cost estimators, both looking at our set of drawings and specifications. And at each step of the way, there's been 3 times so far that we've done cost estimates up to this point. We've taken another look at the drawings and made some adjustments to meet those cost estimates. We'll have another 2 more rounds of cost estimating with 2 separate independent consultants during the construction document phase leading up to the bidding of the project. We will also integrate alternates into the project as a buffer, so that if the bids come in a little bit high, you know, we've got alternates established so that we can take those in case we need to bring the overall cost down. In addition to that, you know, this is a competitively bid project. And so our anticipation is that all along the way, we will be watching and overseeing this. And we also have Compass Project Management as the owner's project manager that's also keeping an eye on the overall budget. And Tim, I don't know if you have anything else to add to any of that.
No, I think you did a good job with that, actually. I mean, we do, obviously, a lot of what we do in design is to try to anticipate the cost when this bids, 4, 5, 6 months from now, more than that, right, Rob? 7 or 8 months. So
Yep.
we are always trying to monitor where the market is going, especially now with the volatility and carrying a provision for inflation in the estimates. And we do 2 estimates we reconcile between the two of us, between the architect and the OPM. And so the best I can say is that when we bid these projects, these school projects, you know, the well overwhelming majority, I don't know the number, but I'm guessing in the 90% or more come in within budget or below. I think the notion that the bidders see the numbers, they're mostly interested in getting the job, and I don't think they don't really pay attention to what we carry as an estimate. They do their own takeoffs and bids, and I think it's, you know, they're generally more focused on getting to the number that they feel is going to make them their profit plus get them the job on a pool of bidders. So we found, you know, historically that process with schools, there's been, since the MSBA started, there's been, you know, hundreds. There's been 1,600 projects that have gone through the MSBA system. There's probably been 1,000 projects that are new schools of some sort. And so there's a lot of people, you know, the estimators know what those costs, that the costs come in. So there's a fair amount of, I will say, as a building type predictability around that. So a lot of projecting the inflation that might occur between now and bid day.
I hope you're correct, but in my 50 years involved in the town, this is only the second time we've gone down this road, and I hope you're correct.
We do too.
Yeah,
Actually,
if I could just add, just to try to maybe create some level of comfort, the two estimators that are being used, one by Compass, one by Dorn Whittier, are both essentially independent cost estimators that don't only estimate our projects, but many other public projects throughout the Commonwealth. So while they're keeping an eye on our project, they're also looking at other ones that will be bidding along the way. So we'll be able to continue to monitor where the market is, and we can make adjustments in the documents if we need to, leading up to our bid date next spring.
One other question before I finish with this. Once the bids come in and you're trying to determine the lowest responsible bidder, what do you have in place for investigating and vetting these bidders?
So we go through a process, a very thorough process of pre-qualifying contractors. So with Compass, project management and Dorn Whittier, we develop a set of criteria that's been established. Basically, there's a framework that's put out by DCAM, and then we can modify it as needed to suit our project requirements. And we identify, various criteria of experience, references, and we go through a very thorough process of checking references and past projects performance that they've done, and go through a process of pre-qualifying the general contractors that can bid on the project. So they must have had, completed similar school projects of a similar scope and a similar size before they can be pre-qualified to bid on the project.
Thank you. And when that is all done, do you provide to the town a report as to how you vetted the successful bidder?
I don't know that we've provided a report, but we can certainly share any of that and can provide that information if requested without a problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
I had a follow-up for Mr. Bonfatti or Mr. Walter, if I may. I think you mentioned that you've seen thousands, or at least 1,000 similar type projects come through the Commonwealth. Can you give us a sense of scale? This price tag, this size school, where does it, in your general sense, where does it fall in the Commonwealth? Are there similar comp schools that we could go to similar towns to Westwood that would give us a sense? Are we looking at the higher end of the price tag, the middle, the low? just wanted to know, I'm trying to get a sense of this project relative to the rest of the state.
There is, well, by the way, I haven't seen 1,000 projects. I mean, there's been that many through the system, but
Sorry, I mischaracterized that.
yeah, I don't want to like give the wrong impression, but we do have actually a slide. I don't know, Rob, if you have it, you could even show it, but there are right now, coincidentally, 5 or 6 elementary schools going on in the same, basically the same area. Medfield, Wellesley, Ashland. There's a few, but that are happening right now with the same costs, and we've done some metrics around that. And the great thing about, the Westwood School is the dollars per square foot. If you look at that table, is the lowest of those sort of comparison schools that are out there and that are happening right now. So I would say right now you're looking at dollars per square foot is kind of a measurement that Westwood is in very good shape. I mean, in terms of those schools. Again, that stuff is all on the MSBA website. It's not hard to see for anybody. I mean, there's a design and construction cost data, and you can find your school in the track of all of them, and what the dollars per square foot is. So right now, Westwood's, basically on the low end on the dollars per square foot of the school projects, even the high schools, the elementary schools in particular. The high schools are even more expensive typically, but so right now it's in a good spot, and that's employing a lot of sustainable. Yeah, is this one? Yeah.
This is from a number of months ago, and I think maybe some of these other costs have changed since then.
Yeah, we've even gone below that from my understanding is, but from the last, but you can see this is kind of an example, where we are.
And are these schools are roughly the same size?
Yes.
Okay.
There is more up to date, which I think actually Westwood ends up being in the lowest of them, but I think this is a more dated slide.
The size is because each elementary school is different in sizes. I think the Wellesley Elementary School is in the high 300s, but the other and then the Westboro is for 400 students, and then I don't remember the Medfield and Ashland number, but but it's hard to compare the total project cost or the size of school in that way, but the cost per square foot is more meaningful from that perspective.
But these are all in the 80 to 110,000 square foot schools, that range, 90 to 110.
Okay, and Mr. McCusker, you had a question?
Yeah, one final question on this. Could you tell me why it's been decided to not put the project out to bid, get a contract, and then come to the town and ask the town to appropriate a specific amount of dollars to fund the contract? Well, why are we doing it this way?
This is the MSBA process. So many towns would prefer to do it what Westwood has traditionally done, which is, as you said, Tom, is to get bids in hand and then come with the firm numbers. But the MSBA process requires us to get a commitment at this stage of design and then project to the bidding date. And that's just the way they've done it. And under that,
we can't do what I suggest?
No, not under the MSBA program, no.
Wow, thank you.
So basically, if we want access to the state funds, we have to play by their rules.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other board members with questions for you? Yes, Dave.
A question about, we talked about the costs of construction and all, but a lot of the features, some of the key features of this project, as well as the other ones the other schools, are the sustainability and the energy efficiency and all that. And I wondered if you had numbers on the difference in operating costs, like how much of an impact, like compared to either the current high school or the existing 2 elementary schools, like what sort of ballpark are we looking at in terms of yearly difference in operating costs due to this design?
I don't know the operating costs of the other schools, but what I can tell you is that the level of energy efficiency that we are integrating into this project is probably it's probably going to be one of the most efficient buildings in the state, if not in New England. You know, with the geothermal well system and the state-of-the-art HVAC systems, the level of thermal efficiency in the walls and roofs, you know, we are trying to get under about 25 energy use intensity EUI. We are currently tracking about 22.6. That's basically the metrics that's used to determine the overall energy usage per square footage of a building. And most, let's say, schools that were done even 20 years ago, an average around the state might be around 50 EUI. So we are probably about half, you know, under half, at least than most of those other older schools. I may have a slide that I can find, but that gives you just any sort of a sense. I don't know if David, if you have any other thoughts on, you know, the energy efficiency of the building from your perspective.
Oh, Roberto, I think you explained that quite well. It's, you know, the metric you use to compare it is EUI, and we're designing to a very low EUI, looking towards a net zero ready school. I mean, we're looking to incorporate geothermal, and you know, just the overall energy efficiency and technology has increased since that, you know, 2004 is quite a long time ago. Of course, you're comparing from an EUI standpoint, you can compare the buildings, but from a cost, it's difficult to compare because this is going to be an all electric building. So, you know, it's when the PV gets incorporated that you'll see the most benefit from that. So yes, the low EUI is what we're designing to. Probably half of what you would have in 2004, maybe even less than half.
Yeah.
Okay. Dave, any follow-ups or you good?
Nope, no, thank you.
All right. Any other board members have a question before we put it out to public comment?
No, I did just want to say thank you to Dave. That was really my question, that I know we've seen those pieces, to your point earlier, Chris, I know we've seen those pieces discussed in other forums. So I didn't necessarily have a question about it because I know so much about it. I'm so pleased with what the renewable vision, I should say, the renewable energy vision for this school. So I'm glad to Dave for bringing it up. Thank you.
All right. I see one question in the Q&A that's been out there for a while, and it's from Ann Berry Goodfellow. She just typed in "thank you." I really don't know what that was referring to. It's back at 7:38, so 20 some minutes ago. So we'll go to the first on the list in the audience is Peter Shuler. Abby, if you could bring him in, or you can ask your question, Mr. Shuler.
Thank you. This is Peter Shuler. I live at 779 Gay Street, directly across from the Hanlon School. At last month's planning meeting, I did raise a couple of concerns, but I'm very pleased to see what has been done to update the landscaping to show additional plantings in the base plan, particularly around Laura Lane and along Gay Street. So I wanted to thank you for that. But I do have a second concern. I did raise an issue about a fence that had been shown in an August 5th school committee meeting, but it was never shown in the engineering drawings. I now see that those drawings have been updated, and And I think the first slide in tonight's presentation showed a little bit about that fence, but it's a 5-foot-high chain link fence running from Laura Lane along part of the new fire access trail and around the north and west perimeter of the property. It looks to be approximately 900 feet long. I strongly object to this fence, mainly the total length, and in particular, the first 400-foot section that starts at Laura Lane that will be visible to the users walking towards Lower Woods. I do understand some concerns to keep the new play area separated from those walking along the trail, but this current design is way above and beyond what was discussed and shown at the August 5th meeting. So I did raise the issue of fencing more than a year ago when I became involved in the project and was told there was no plan to surround the school with fencing, but now it appears as we see the detail that this is not entirely the case. And I want to point out that the current school is currently up against the woods now. Walkers and dogs currently walk through the property to get to the trail, and no fence is needed. So I'd like to ask the presenters, why do we need a fence that is so intrusive, and can it be shortened by about 400 feet to primarily separate the play area from the trails and not run all the way to Lower Lane, where it's very visible to those who are using the trails? To me, the fence gives a clear signal: keep out, you're unwelcome, stay away. I don't believe that's what's intended, but to me, that's what it presents. So I hope it may not be the best time to discuss this, but it is a concern, certainly, hopefully a lot easier than the financial issues that are going on. But it does concern me that it's such a much larger fence than what was ever discussed at the August 5th presentation. So if there's any reason why we need that huge length of fence, I'd like to hear it.
I'll put up the site plan again so we can see what we're talking about. So we reviewed the fencing quite extensively with the school district, and we were also hearing some comments and responding to comments from the public as well. And it seemed to arrive to a consensus that it made sense to provide a fence to provide a couple of things. One is to allow students to understand, that this is the sort of the boundary of the playground area. So if they're out here playing in among the playground area, and they tend to, maybe some kids go into the woods to get a ball or whatever, that they understand that this is the sort of like the boundary that they have to work in. It also serves as a boundary for and separation for members of the public that are, like you said, maybe they're taking their dogs for a walk. Some people may or may not have their dog on a leash. And so the school desired to have that sort of separation from people that are walking through the woods and going directly past that as a safety concern as well. We can certainly, if you're talking about or referring to the concern with this segment of the fence along here, we can certainly engage in continued conversations with the school district to discuss whether they feel that that's necessary or not. But they are very strongly about having the fence at a minimum covering from this section around this play area here.
Sure. Well, I guess I would have to say that I would certainly appreciate continued discussion about that first 300 to 400 foot of fence there. That's what, to me, is going to be visible. It looks like you're walking up against the side of a prison, walking down that trail with a 5-foot high chain link fence there. There's other ways that people can access that area, whether there's a fence there or not, just coming down the bus route or the service lane. from Laura Lane. So I just think it's unnecessary, that entire length of fence. And that's the one, so that first 400 feet of fence is what concerns me. And I'm willing to say, okay, let's continue to discuss it.
So Peter, this is Mayor Clark, and we can
Yeah.
certainly continue to talk about it. I just want to remind you that that is the service area. So there will be trucks there, there will be recycling there. It's not a pretty view. So I think part of the reason we thought of extending that fence as well was actually to provide trail goers with a nicer experience as opposed to walking by the back service area of a big commercial building.
Yep.
So again, we can certainly revisit this, but in addition to the security concerns that Rob mentioned, I think the fence will be, I don't know, Rob, what exactly the material of the fence is. I know you told me and I have forgotten.
It's, yeah, I mean, right now we're planning for it to be a chain link fence, but would have like a screen. I don't know if you've seen, like, it could be like a green fabric, type of thing. So that kind of blends in.
Yeah. And so I think the idea was actually, and even for those, those houses on Laura Lane too, to just provide some buffer between the nature trail and the service entrance. Now, if that's not something people want, we can talk about that, but that was the intent of that extra piece.
I see. I prefer a more natural barrier than a man-made chain link fence. That's my concern. So
I'm just not sure if we have the budget to do full landscape screening in that area.
I'd rather have nothing more than what you've shown than to have that fence there. Again, it's just gives a feel to me. I've walked, you walk along sidewalks where those fences are, and this is literally going to be walking right up against the fence. I just think it gives the wrong impression. Keep out, stay away. This is not for you. I don't like what that does. I understand back by the play area where you're trying to keep the kids within their area. And so all I'm asking is if we could continue the discussion about that first part of the fence. And it sounds like you're open to that at least.
Yeah, we're open to discussing it. I will remind you that in some respects, we do want those things that you're saying. We do want to say, keep out, this is a service area. This is not for cutting across to get to another part of the fence, or, and this is a school and we do have significant security concerns. So in some respects, the things that you're objecting to are actually goals of ours, unfortunately, in this day and age.
But you're not really keeping anybody out, because anybody can just walk down the bus route to get to that. So you're not really keeping people out. And the people, you're going to make a nice trail. So you're encouraging people to walk on the trail, which is great. That's all. And I think, and again, we've had the school here for 20 years. I've been here. There's been no fencing, and there's been no, the animals are all here, all around us. The kids are all playing right up behind the school, right next to the woods. It's not like they don't know that there's a barrier there, a natural barrier caused by the woods. But I understand you want to have a little bit more. I understand you want to have a little bit more.
In this particular area, the trail does run very close to the school, but we will certainly, we can talk more about it.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I appreciate that everyone's willing to continue to discuss this further, but we do have other people who want an opportunity to talk. So we'll go to next on the list is Mr. Olenoff. Steve, are you there?
Yes. Thank you. Steve Olenoff, 52 Landor Road. And I just want to get back to what Dave Atkins said a few minutes ago about efficiency, because I just happen to have it's been 1 year since I converted my house from oil, heat, and hot water to 100% electric. And my savings I've calculated to be 50% by doing this. So I think definitely on the right track there. And I think that's a point that should be brought out, those operational savings. So first I want to thank the replies I got to a lot of the things, and all the changes being made are very good. There's still 3 areas where pedestrian usage is not very well defined, and I wanted to go over them with you. And then I wanted to discuss about the photovoltaics, say a little thing about that. So I did have a few slides to illustrate this. And Abby, you have them ready? All right, so we did speak about this before. This is the area from Laurel Lane to the school. And the question is, you know, there's a little path connection there from Laurel Lane to the path, but there's nothing between them. And so the question is, what should we do there? If you go to the next slide, and you see, there will be people that come down Laurel Lane, and especially the residents who want to get to the school, and that's about the path that they're going to take. So I think we should consider what are we going to do here. And there are probably three things you can do. You can just put in a nice sidewalk that goes from the existing sidewalk to Laurel Lane, or you could leave like just a stone dust trail, or some of like the trail that goes to Lower Woods, or you can do nothing. So I just want to point out, if you do nothing, there will be what's called desire paths, where people will be walking there anyway, and they'll be wearing a pathway through the grass. So you're going to end up with a kind of a trail there. So I think you should just want to consider what we do there. Now, does anyone want to respond now, or all at once when I'm done?
I can respond to this, Steve. So I think you and I have talked about this. I think at this point, given that I don't think we're inclined to do anything we're going to do option C, because you know, that isn't intended to be a path from Laurel Lane to the school. We're really trying to direct traffic to the school. And I think that having that pathway through the woods opens up an access to the school that the school is not quite prepared to do at this time. Certainly, these are things we can look at going forward. If it seems as though there's a lot of foot traffic coming from Laurel Lane across, this is something we can certainly add at a later date. But I think at this point, you know, particularly the houses, the beginning of Laurel Lane, we would imagine they would come down Gay Street and go up the school. And for houses at the end, you know, we're talking maybe 2 or 3 houses on the maybe 1 or 2 occasions per year, they may walk across to the school. They can access, you know, if they're accessing Lowell Woods, they have the path at the end of their street. If they're actually going to the school, I think we're talking about a small number of people and a small number of times per year. So at this time, I would say that we would probably leave it. But certainly if it looks like, you know, this is a path that a majority of people are taking, we would certainly revisit it.
Yeah, and I forgot to put on the slide, but in the other direction, people coming down from Pine Lane, and they would be coming through this way, and they would want to access the trail going from the school, and students at the school, if they want to go on teacher wants to take them out on a hike down the trail, they would be using it that way too. So it's something more to think about. Yeah,
we can certainly see how we use the property once we're there. Hopefully, if we're in there.
I hope so too. Okay, next slide. Oh yeah, so I wanted to point out also here that people might decide, hey, the trail is real nice. I'll come down by the trail, then cut over. So there might be more people coming and using it for more directions than you think.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, next slide. All right, now in this area, the pedestrian pathways coming from the top of the plan down, there's that nice sweeping sidewalk that, you know, well, the one that goes, yeah, right by that gets people very nice sidewalk to that area. But coming from the other direction, it's not well defined at all. So next slide, you'll see, here are the people coming from that area. Well, how are they going to go? They're going to do one of 3 things. They're going to cut to the right of the tree across the grass, or go to the left of the tree across the grass, or walk up the driveway until they get to the handicap spot and either go to the Scout House or to the trail. So it'd be nice if, you know, a sidewalk from that crosswalk to the trail would absolutely do it. But the way it is now, you have the pedestrian passageway there is completely not defined. While we're here, I noticed all the bicycle racks that you put next to the soccer field, and that's excellent. I don't know if they were there before because I may not have shown up on the plan, but that's really good. They're well placed. I think you could use a few more bicycle racks right here at the corner there. So anyone going to the Scout House or onto the trail could use a few bicycle racks there. Not too many, but there's just a few. Then the third place is we have those over on the right. There are those parking spaces next to the soccer field, and there's no. I'm not sure who they're supposed to be for. Are they for use for a soccer field or overflow parking going to the school? But there's no defined way for them to get to the school from there. So next slide. So here are the paths they would probably take. The ones near the end might just be walking across the street and go that way, or the others would head down again through the middle of the driveway, and then either go down to the driveway to the left or to the right. At some point, they may cut over to that sidewalk in the middle, or they might just say, no, there's a sidewalk there, and just cut across the landscape island to get to that sidewalk, which right now dead ends at that landscape island. So I think I would consider putting a pathway through that landscape island so they could use that or something else here to better define how pedestrians are going to get from those parking spaces to the school. Again, the question maybe you can answer now is, what are those parking spaces? What are they designed for? Just overflow for the
I think it's overflow to the field. Rob, do you want to address that?
Yeah, the parking spaces that are provided, the two sets of parking lots, if you will. There's one here within the loop for the parent drop off, and there's another one within the bus loop. Both of those are really designed to accommodate all of the staff and visitors that would be going to the school. The spaces along the curve here of the circle to the right, like this one here and then further along, really are mostly intended for the fields. And so further up to the north, we've got two handicap accessible spaces that will allow accessibility to both the soccer field and the baseball field. And so this is primarily thinking that this would be mostly used for the fields. There might be that transition time, when these parking lots are full and parents are arriving to, pick up their kids or drop off their kids for soccer practice or baseball. And so these are convenient spaces for that use. If there's a large event, maybe they could be used for that. But they're really just kind of extra spaces, and like I said, mostly intended for the fields.
Yeah, so it's not well defined how to get from those parking spaces to the field, and the topography looks a little steep in some places. So to get down there and get to the field, it should be better defined than that. And it's certainly, as I said already, if they're going in the other direction to the school, that's not well defined either. So those are the three areas. The last thing I wanted to talk about was, I noticed the solar panels. You mentioned before that the school is solar ready. And I'm just concerned, what do you mean by solar ready? That it really is solar ready.
Yep.
Have you thought about things like arrangements of the things on top of the school roof to maximize the amount of solar panels that you could put on, having conduits put in during construction so that when you add solar panels, those conduits are already there. You don't have to do a lot of work the outside of the building or inside the building to do that. And we also discussed possible solar panels. And in this picture here, you know, probably those two middle rows be a good place for solar panels above the parking spaces. And that's something to think seriously about. And then you'd want to have conduits in place for when you decide to do that. So those would be there. Just add a few. You have conduits, I assume, for the lighting there. Just add a few extra that you could use if you put in the solar panels. So that would be solar ready also.
Yeah, so just to respond to your first question, we have designed the roof structure to support photovoltaic panels. We are also designing the electrical panels and main distribution lines and conduit within the building to support future photovoltaic panels. And I don't know, David, if you want to follow up on really what's.
Yeah, sure. So the energy code actually requires this solar ready infrastructure for a percentage of the roof. So what we're doing is we're designing the distribution system to accommodate future circuit breakers that are sized to handle what amount of PV can be installed in the roof. We've oversized the bus in the main switchgear to accommodate the code requirement for interconnection of PV system, and then we're running the conduits from that distribution system out to where the disconnect and the meter would be by the transformer, and then back up to locations on the roof where you know, solar would make sense. As far as the site, we would look at we'd have to coordinate closer with the canopy locations or PPA suppliers that would be designing that. So that's something that we would definitely coordinate with once that information is available.
Thank you. That's very good. And just one last note is the things you just said. I think you need to get that word out to the public, because I've gotten a lot of some people who are very concerned about climate change and concerned about having solar panels everywhere we can. That's the first question they ask is, why aren't solar panels included in this project? And of course, part of the answer is that there are a lot of programs out there to install solar panels, and so you want to take advantage of that, and including it in with this contract would not be the way to take advantage of those kinds of things. So I fully understand why you're not putting full photovoltaic panels on right away. But I think you need to explain that to get the support of some of the people who will really be asking that question. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is Ann Berry Goodfellow. Ann Berry. Hello.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Can you
do want
identify
to
yourself, please?
Excuse me? Oh, I'm sorry. Ann Berry Goodfellow, 199 Fox Hill Street, and Chairman of the Disability Commission.
Thank you.
I want to acknowledge and thank the school committee and the architects for the time they've spent presenting the features of the school and hearing our concerns and recommendations. It's really been a very cooperative process. And even though the specifics of the program area aren't before the planning board, personally, I want to say that the features of this school are very exciting from the standpoint of disability access and inclusion, and the opportunity for students with disabilities to be full members of the academic community, and for their family members with disabilities, grandparents, parents, siblings, to be able to access the building, access the program, access the activities as full partners in the community. And that's thrilling. And at our meeting that where the school committee and the architects presented to the CPAC and the Commission on Disability, one of our members who's been involved since the special ed bill was called Chapter 766, Connie Rizzoli, commented that it was almost beyond the wildest dreams to see a building coming online that would represent that full opportunity. And I was a colleague of Connie up on the Department of Education side while this was getting underway. And, you know, it's a vision fulfilled, a vision of those early individuals in the 70s who thought that we should let all of our students share their gifts and not have you know, architectural or other barriers to their participation in the community. So we are really excited about that. And again, appreciate the responsiveness to our comments and recommendations. The one question that had occurred to me as I was sort of looking at the documents that were coming up today was what the access to a basketball tournament was going to be. Would participants at a basketball tournament be going through the main door of the school to access the gym? I see Maya shaking her head, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it was just, I saw that little side door and I was like, God, you know.
No, no, you know, we designed the school so that we could separate the public area from the private area. And the public area, you know, the public enters through the main door and it has access to the cafeteria and the performance space, the gym, and the restrooms associated there. So all of that is available to the public through that main door. And yet we're still able to block off the academic wings and keep those secure at night and on weekends. So yes, they would come through the main door.
Yeah, that was just, as I looked at it, it was like, I'm glad to have that clarification.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we had raised, you know, a question and a hope that there'd be some additional handicap parking spaces. And I know that, you know, you're meeting code. And I'm wondering if there would be both a method for monitoring usage and a way of providing additional spaces during events so that, you know, if you have an event where there's a lot of family and grandparents and people coming to an event at the school and you needed more than 4 spaces to access the building, whether that would be something that would be provided. Not necessarily permanently, right? It'd
Right.
be something
That
where
I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
about sort of designating additional spaces. I guess, would that be a town issue maybe?
Or it might be a school department issue, just sort of giving some thought to, you know, who the audience is that's coming to an event and whether, you know, it could even be true at like a high school play that you might want to set aside some additional spaces for, you know, for family, again, senior citizens and individuals with disabilities that might be attending at a higher rate than just a random event at the that was occurring at the school or building. So something to keep in mind. And maybe over time, discovering that really the number that's identified is not adequate. But that only time will tell whether that's the case. So
Yeah. I think we do have more parking spaces. So I do think temporary handicap spaces is a possibility, definitely.
yeah, sure. And then as Steve had mentioned, the question about the way of accessing those 12 spaces that are by the soccer field, you know, some clearly delineated path for pedestrians. So, and again, if people end up using those during an event, making sure, because that event is likely to be at night, making sure that there's a safe route to the building.
Yes.
So, and again, thanks again for all of your collective work in moving this project forward.
Well, Anne, we want to thank you and the commission and CPAC. You guys have contributed invaluable feedback to this project. And I can tell you that Abby Hanscom and Emily are very excited about the possibility for special education in this new school. And a large part of that is due to your involvement. So thank you to you and your commission and to CPAC as well for all the input. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Maya.
Thank you for your comments. I have no more hands raised. There was a question in the Q&A and it just got removed just as I clicked in there.
I think it was moved to answered.
Oh, I didn't see that. Thank you.
Yes, Chris, this is Deb. I answered Fran's questions about square feet of
Offline. Got it.
proposed.
Okay. Long as it got me.
Yeah, and just to add to Fran's question, She had asked whether the fields would be available for recess time, field day, et cetera. That's the idea, is that the PE teacher can take, students out there for gym. Certainly, we could set that up and use that for field day. That's why sort of the gym is positioned pretty close to that area as opposed to being the opposite side of the building. So we see that as a great interdisciplinary opportunity.
Okay, thank you. All right. I see Anne's hand is still raised. I'm assuming that's just not been removed, unless she does have an additional question or comment. Anne, did you have something else to remark on?
No, I did not.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure you had an opportunity.
Okay, thank
Okay, thank you. Okay, planning board members, any other questions, concerns you'd like to address? I think, as Abby and has been indicated before, the stormwater management is still outstanding. But I think the rest of the project has been fully submitted to us. I think as a group, it would be premature given that stormwater has not been completed yet. I think it would be irresponsible for us to vote on this as a board since that aspect is still not completed. But I think it would benefit this group, the members of the public watching now or tape delayed, if we got a sense from the planning board members as to their thoughts on this, because we will not have another meeting before the town meeting. So I think going forward, I don't mean to put people on the spot, but just a general polling of planning board members and your thoughts on this project moving forward. So I'll call on, I guess I'll start. I think the project is incredibly well thought out. I think a lot of attention to child experience has been given, and I think that, and teacher experience as well. So I think those two things are the top of the list for me. And I think that this group has shown a great aptitude to creating a good educational experience for the kids who are fortunate enough to be in whatever the new school is. So I am so far in favor of this particular project. And with that, I'll move on to board member Kate Wynn.
Thank
General
you.
thoughts?
Thank you, Chris. I am also very supportive of this project. And I understand actually a little bit better based on the conversation we had tonight, why I'm not going to see solar panels on top of this building initially. So I was very happy to have that discussion, but I am really, really pleased with the flexibility and determination from everybody working on this project to make it the best possible project it can be for everyone in the town. It's going to be for everyone in the town. So really excited about that. Thanks.
Thank you. Dave.
So yeah, I'm very supportive of this as well. And I think I got thinking about this, it's it's going to be a lot of money for everybody. And there's just no getting around that. But I would hate to see an attempt to pinch pennies and save a small amount of money and lose some of the advantages of this project. I feel like you're going to be spending a lot of money. Let's make sure we get everything right for the next generation or two, because as these schools have been here since the 50s, since the current schools were built so long ago, we want this one to be something that 30 years from now, people are very happy with it and see it lasting another 20 years beyond that. And so I think it's really important to make the decision right now, thinking 50 years into the future, and not to say, well, if we cut this and we cut that, we can make it a little cheaper for everybody, because you're talking about small amounts of, you're talking about a few dollars here and there, when what we've done here is we have addressed incredible sustainability issues that are going to save a lot of money. We don't know the exact numbers on that, but the operating costs of the school will be significantly less than they would have been otherwise. And being able to take into account the disability concerns, it really makes me happy to hear what I just heard there, because it's this idea of taking away impediments to people experiencing the value of this. I just think we have to go for it. And so I think this board has, in its review, has done the part that we need to do, the exception of the resolving the stormwater issues. But I think I wholeheartedly support this and look forward to it.
Thank you. Tom?
I have no concerns with the building.
Okay, thank you. Ellen?
Yeah, I am looking forward to seeing the stormwater report because I think it's important that we do review that as part of our due diligence. I really appreciate the effort made and the commitment to using native species in the plantings. I know I've been an advocate for that and probably to the point of harping on it, particularly with the proximity to conservation land. That was a big concern of mine of inadvertently introducing invasive species. So I'm very, very pleased with what I've seen. I commend you for your commitment to that. Also, to echo what's been said about the sustainability and the accessibility, I think that the attention to that in the design is outstanding. And yeah, as far as the things that are our purview from an EMM and an EIDR perspective, I have no concerns about the design and the stuff that we've been reviewing.
Thank you very much, Ellen. Okay, Abby, we need to continue this. Is there anything else we need to do prior to doing that?
No, I recommend you continue the public hearing to your meeting at the end of November, which is Tuesday, November 30th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. I suggest that date because there'll need to be time to do the test pits and then also time for the project team to submit that information back to you and to Beta Group, and so that Beta can also provide an updated stormwater review for you. So that'll take a couple of weeks, a few weeks to get all that in, get that reviewed. So I recommend you vote to continue to your Tuesday, November 30th. The project team can consider the couple items brought up tonight, but it sounds like mostly the focus will be on the stormwater, completing that stormwater review after having the soil testing results.
Okay. Anybody like to make a motion to continue the hearing?
So I'll move to continue the public hearing on the limited EIDR and earth material movement for the new elementary school project at 790 Gay Street to Tuesday, November 30th at 7 p.m. on Zoom to review the soil test results and review the final drainage design for stormwater.
Second that.
Any further discussion? We'll take a roll call vote. Tom? Ellen?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So this meeting is continued till after Thanksgiving. Thank you very much, everybody, for everything, all your work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
All right. Abby, next on our list is a 126 Skyline Drive. And this is a earth material movement. EIDR is the applicant here.
Yes, they are coming in, joining the meeting now.
Okay. We have a David Mackwell and Gail Mann with us. And whoever is presenting.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the planning board. My name is David Mackwell with Kelly Engineering Group. We assisted the applicant, Gail Mann, in putting together the application for an EIDR that is before you tonight. Abby, is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I just took what we submitted and I made a couple of very minor details, and I'll email you the whole PDF, okay, for open meeting law. Let's see. Is there a toggle for me to share the screen?
You should be able to.
Yep, I got it. I had to move it. I had to move it to the other screen. Okay, can everybody see it now?
Yes, now I can.
I'll just wait for it to refresh everywhere.
Can all the planning board members see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so the project is located at 126 Skyline Drive, which is in the single family residence C zoning district. The project is to build an accessory structure, a shed really. Unfortunately, I got an architectural plan and it looked like a barn, and I called it a barn in my notice. And I think that was a little bit of a overrepresentation because it's only 700 square feet. So it's not really a barn, it's more of a shed. So the lot is here. It's approximately 1.6 acre existing lot, single family residential, located on Skyline Drive. Just so we're in kind of the northwest side of town. Up over on this side would be the town of Dover, the town of Dedham. On this side, the town of Dover, Westfield or Wilsondale Street here, and then Ridge Road, Skyline Drive, residential neighborhood. We did a complete topo survey when we got involved with the project, as we realized it would need some more permitting other than a building permit from the building department. This here is just a picture of the lot, Skyline Drive over here. We have a long driveway set back about 150 feet. The house is set back from the street. The area of work is on the left side of the house, as we've highlighted here on the plans. This is one of the plans that I made extra, Abby. I kind of superimposed the shed on the existing conditions plan at the same scale. I realized that when I did my plan set, I changed scales. So for the benefit of the planning board to see the same view, we have an existing dwelling here. There's a small shed in the back now. What they want to do is build a new shed to house one vehicle and some lawn equipment and things in the other part here. And that shed will be, the other shed will be demolished. So we took a look at all the requirements and put together a site plan. We put our earth removal and earthwork quantities right on the plan. We put some minor stormwater management calculations right on the plan, a small zoning legend. We did submit the application a while ago, and there's been a few comments from the staff and the department heads, but nothing of substance. The reason we need the EIDR is because, as you can see from the plan, if anybody looks at plans, there is some topography on the property. There's a level house lot, but then it drops off fairly quickly. We're going to place the driveway, the new shed right at the end of the driveway, and it actually wants to park a vehicle. So it's basically at the same elevation of the driveway, and we need to build a retaining wall that I've shown here in this red color. That retaining wall will be approximately, we'll need to change the grade more than 5 feet in any one location. That's the trigger that gets us to the EIDR special permit. So as I had said before, this sheet we put together with some stormwater calcs and some cut and fill calcs. We have a fairly simple site design where we come to the end of the existing driveway. We'll put a catch basin or area drain in, because then the new building will be built the same elevation as the driveway. And we're going to bring the runoff, any runoff around the structure, one dry well, and then overflow it to a what we call a stone trench or a level spreader. So I also have a few more things. This is a fairly straightforward. I know you guys just got done with a very lengthy, complicated project. These are just standard details. Here we just have a picture of the house with the existing 3-car garage. Part of the process, this third door is going to get closed in because you can only have 3 garage stalls here, and the applicant is opted to build a accessory structure and was willing to close in that garage door there. I'm kind of rolling through now some of the architectural plans that we had done. These are some elevations. This one's looking from the backyard into the side portion that's more like the shed. This side over here is faced from the driveway, where you'll be able to swing 2 doors open and get a vehicle in there. And These are some architectural details that I'm sure we don't, and if anybody has any questions, let me know. I added just a couple of photos just to show the planning board. There was some that were submitted with the peer review as well. You'll see this photos from the driveway. We can kind of see how the land drops off. We're trying to get some separation so it's not right on top of the existing home. So it's going in this area over here. It's another shot. You can see the existing shed in the back and the proposed structures in this area over here. And this is currently kind of a lawn area with some trees overhanging. Very important for the landowner, wants to keep all the trees. So the shed's going to kind of go in this area here, and does not want to remove any trees or even any canopy from the trees. So the contractor is going to work hard with the landowner to make sure that there's no damage done. As I had mentioned a little bit earlier in the presentation, that we had some comments from the department heads. I don't think there was anything significant. A couple things were like, we'll need separate building permits for the retaining walls. We are aware of that. The architect's aware of that. We are aware of that as well. I don't think there was any significant comments that warranted any plan changes. We did get the peer review from Beta Group on Friday. I was able to take a look at it. The recommendations there are fairly minor as well. They didn't have any substantive comments that would require us to move the building or change anything that's substantive, maybe just filling in some gaps based on the rules and regulations for the planning board accepting EIDR applications. We have done some of those with Kelly Engineering for some commercial buildings they're a little bit more involved. So we'll just expand our zoning legend and comply with the comments provided by the peer reviewer. Are all fairly simple. I do have the homeowner is here on the Zoom as well, and I have a picture of the surrounding neighborhood. One thing that we can see a little bit here is 126 Skyline is set fairly far back, and then the additions on the side. So we're kind of in the woods on this side, so there really shouldn't be. I don't know if there are. I don't know if the homeowner from number 116 is on the. I know they were noticed, but I don't know if they're here to provide any comments. But we are certainly here and ready to address any concerns the planning board may have. I imagine this is a fairly standard special permit for anybody who needs a small retaining wall in their yard to support a structure. And with that, I think that's the only things that I'd like to say this evening. And through the chairman, I'd like to turn it back over to yourself and any concerned parties of the audience. Gail, if you need to say anything, I guess you raise your hand if you need to, or just supplement the presentation any way that you see fit, and we'll keep moving.
Thank you. Abby, or Mr. Mackwell, can you stop sharing the screen, then we can.
Yep.
Abby, can you, any staff comments? Sorry.
The only comment I would have would be to check in with the building department on a special permit for having more than 3 or storage for more than 3 vehicles. I believe it still may be needed. So you just have to check with the building commissioner on that. That's a special permit for the zoning board of appeals. But other than that, I didn't have any other comments. We had comments from Beta Group, which were mostly of asking for some plan notation updates.
All right. Comments, questions from planning board members? I see none. Just my only thought in that presentation was really does it meet the setback, the near corner of the new, it looks very close to the property line. And what's the setback? Is it 20 feet or 10 feet?
The setback is 20 feet for the side yard setback gets reduced if you have a structure under a certain height. We have reviewed our plan in detail with the building inspector, as our process here with the planning board this evening has really been directed from from the building inspector over to this particular special permit. We have had the opportunity to discuss the building height, the setback, and to make sure that when we're ready for a building permit, we can secure one. So let me just answer your question specifically because I have it on my plan. I'll just bring it up for myself, but I don't want to give you the wrong answer. So the side yard setback is 20 feet, but if you're have an accessory structure that is 15 feet or shorter, the setback gets reduced to a minimum of 6 feet.
Okay, well, I would, yes, Kate?
And sorry, and so how close are you?
We will be, I think it's like 8 feet, the closest. Let me just give you that answer. I don't want to, 7.7 feet.
Okay, well, I would trust the building department to make
Well,
sure.
if it doesn't, we'll be off to the zoning board of appeals or changing the plan, one or the other. But we've talked about it. I think it was not, I think it was with Mr. Doyle. I can't remember which building inspector, but I had a discussion with him myself when we got commenced here, because that was some of the things that we got, and I did a zoning review, and I wanted to make sure I was interpreting the height and all the associated definitions properly before we submitted our application.
Okay. Abby, rundown of waivers?
Yes, there's 4 waivers for the standard application requirements for the EIDR, which are the full stormwater report, the exterior lighting plan, traffic study, and the presentation model.
Okay. So it looks like no other board members have any other questions to the applicant. So at this time, I guess we'd entertain a motion to accept the waiver request.
So moved.
We have
Second.
2 moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Ellen,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Conditions, Abby? Help
Right,
us out.
also, don't forget to take public comments if there's
Oh.
any.
You're right. I apologize. We'll open it up to the public before we get into conditions. Is there anyone, any of the participants have a question in the Q&A or raise your hand? I don't see any Q&As, questions there. And give 5 more seconds for someone to raise their hand. And I don't see anyone. So we'll presume there to be no questions from the public. Conditions?
I suggest the applicant submit the revised plan. Looks like it was presented tonight, but it should include the updated notes requested in Beta's memo. The existing pavement on Skyline Drive be protected during construction. Condition 3 related to the hours of construction, which is not before 7 a.m. and goes until 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, noon to 7 p.m. on Sundays. All construction vehicles should go to the site from either Wilsondale via Ridge Road or Far Reach off for Summer Street. Then condition 5 is related to the applicant's responsibility about filing and any other permits such as zoning board of appeals if that's required. Number 6, the applicant is responsible for repairing any damage to the public way after public works approval. And then number 7, to keep a copy of the decision on site at all times during construction.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve the earth material movement EIDR for 126 Skyline Drive with the conditions read by Abby.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, take a roll call vote. Kate?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Ellen?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. We need a motion to close this hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hey, Ellen,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Tom,
All right.
and I vote aye. So this hearing is closed. Congratulations and best of luck in your project.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Good night.
Night.
Next, we have a approval not required A&R plan for 65 and 79 Bay Colony Drive. Abby, can you give us a little rundown of what this is?
Yes, I will share my screen so you can see it. This is an approval not required plan that's essentially land swap, changing the side lot lines. There's 65 Bay Colony Drive here and 79 right here. There's an encroachment with a fence on lot 79 that surrounds the pool. It was discovered that it would cross the existing lot lines. So this plan shows creating, slightly adjusting the lines, and then giving this, parcel B will go to number 65, and this new parcel A that goes around the fence will go to number 79. They've included a note on the plan that says the parcel A and B will be conveyed and combined to the abutting lot. The lot sizes remain the same. They both have keep their frontage on Bay Colony, so I don't see any issues with this. It's really an equal land swap to adjust the side lot lines so that the fence is fully on one property.
Do you have any idea how long this fence has been up here?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay, just surprising that, that's over by considerable amount. So I'm just surprised that existing house 65 would have allowed that and watched it go up. So, any comments, questions from planning board members? Okay. Abby, we do not need a vote on this, right? Because you don't need our approval. Do we need a vote?
Nope. You should vote to endorse the plan, and then after tonight, if you can come by Carby Street sometime during business hours, anytime between 8:30 and 4:30 and before 1 on Fridays, to sign the Mylar plan that will then go to the Registry of Deeds for recording.
Okay. So do we need a motion to endorse?
I will make a motion that we endorse this A&R plan.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. Ellen,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. All right, this is not a hearing, is it? No. So we don't need to close that. So moving on to other public meeting items, we have a zoning amendment discussion. Abby, you want to give us anything that's happened in the last couple of weeks regarding these?
Sure. Since your last meeting, Nora and I attended the recent housing partnership. They met on maybe a week ago. I think at the end of September, they had a meeting. We had previously introduced that housing choice legislation for the MBTA communities that talks about requires municipalities with the MBA stations to adopt multifamily housing within a half-mile zoning, within a half-mile of a train station. And they began working on a evaluation scorecard. If you recall, at one of your earlier meetings, that came up for you while you were reviewing the locations on where to propose this new district, where you want to allow that. In your earlier discussion, you had talked about reaching out to some other public committees and some groups. And then also it was suggested to have some kind of, evaluation criteria for when you go through at one of your upcoming meetings and look at where exactly you want to propose this new zoning. So they met at the end of September. They had a meeting and prepared a, first draft. They made some more edits, and they are meeting again next week on the 21st. And so they're hoping at their meeting on the 21st, they'll make any final revisions, and they would like to forward you their draft scorecard for you to consider at your next meeting. Also, we've outreached to the Housing Authority and have scheduled to attend their meetings. Nora and I are going to go to their meeting next week on Tuesday, the 19th, to introduce the multifamily housing zoning, to explain the law to them, hear back from them, and then hopefully they will work on some scoring criteria, and we'd like for them to provide comments to you too. So hopefully next week, by the end of next week, that you'll have some more material to review for your continued discussions. So your next meeting on the 25th, I think we'll have a little more time on the agenda. I think you only have one other public hearing item. So I expect hopefully at that meeting that you'll have time to review a draft scorecard and pick up where you left off. At your August meeting, you had talked about certain properties and locations that you wanted to look at. And so my recommendation would be to look at this evaluation criteria, what you think is important, and then continue your discussion on where you want to look at proposing this zoning. We don't have any updates from the state yet, or any new information at this time, but that draft scoring criteria is coming along. I know Kate and Chris were at the recent housing partnership meeting, and then so they're still working on that draft, but the most current draft was in your packet as well.
Abby, do you see yourself making changes to this after next week's 2 housing meetings in advance of our 25th meeting?
It depends on these 2 groups. They might. So I was hoping that between the 2 groups, I would encourage them to make at least a recommendation or get the whatever draft they have by the end of next week, so that on Friday the 22nd, we could get you something to review at your meeting on the 25th.
Okay. And then just going forward, using this as a tool for us to help identify locations. After the 25th, we will then fine tune it ourselves, and then our meetings in November will be used to do that, right? If I'm understanding this. And how many meetings will we have to use this tool to then have something ready before we have to go to the FinCom meeting in mid to late January? 3 or 4?
Your next meeting is on October 25th. So I think you'll want to spend time reviewing this evaluation scoring card then. If you need more time than that, the next meeting would be November 9th, your next scheduled meeting. Then you also have November 30th and December 14th. So you have 4 meetings scheduled before the end of the year. Usually at your December meeting, that's when you would submit your list of warrant articles to the select board. You don't have to have them written by then, but you submit your, usually a couple of sentences of a placeholder. So there should be zoning amendments that you reasonably expect that you'll have ready by, usually by January, because we start the public hearings in February. So we expect once the public hearings begin in February, they continue, in the winter and the spring, and they can change, but you want your original legal notice that is prepared in January. It can't vary too much. So going in, you have about the 4 meetings for the rest of the year, and then usually 1 in January to kind of look at exactly what you want to propose so that it can be captured in the public hearing legal notice for a February the start of the public hearings in February. So it's about 5 more meetings for you to consider where you want to allow this. So, a new zoning district, and then the text of the article of what exactly would need to be submitted, what the zoning process what the application process would entail, and what would need to be submitted. So that would be in the text, but I think what's going to take the longest is you looking at where exactly the location of where exactly you'd like to propose the new district.
But as we learned,
Mr.
sorry.
Chairman, point of order.
Yes.
Abby, don't they have a joint meeting with the select board to appoint associate members on November 15th? Has that been scheduled?
Yes, we have a placeholder on if everyone's available on the Monday, November 15th meeting with the select board for the associate appointments. I think, but that would be the planning board attending the select board meeting for the appointments of the reappointments of the associate member positions.
Yeah, I just, my purpose in bringing it up is that you don't lose that date in your schedule moving forward.
Okay. I was going to say that as we learned last year with the medical use article that we brought forth, changing locations after beginning our public hearings is a very real possibility. And not just our public hearings, we may get word from the state and guidance from the state that we may have to eliminate some things that we originally considered. So we're just like we did last year, we're still free to change locations. Is that right, Pat? I mean, as long as we advertise it accordingly?
As long as you have some flexibility, but the goal is to try and get it right the first time, as always, but that's not always the case. So you have some flexibility depending on how you do it, and as long as it's within the notice that you gave your advertisement. So the advertisement needs to be broad enough so that it puts people on notice that this could happen. That's the key is the notice covers what you're doing.
Right. And it seems like the notice we did last year seemed to have worked for the medical use. So
well, we haven't heard from the Attorney General yet, so we're not going to hear from them till the end of November. So,
but we're talking about procedure, and that we stay to the legal procedure.
I understand, but yeah,
I know. All right.
We did, Chris, I'll just add that on the state's website pertaining to this MBTA communities, they are accepting a preliminary review. So they do say that we can submit to them a draft for them to review, and they'll try to get back to us within 30 days. So if you're able to work diligently for your next 4 meetings, after your November 14th meeting, I could submit, what you're looking at doing to the state and see if hopefully they could get back to us, by the time you have to get to your public hearing in February. If, I know the holidays might slow some things down, but if they're able to give us, some early words of guidance or early feedback on if we're headed in the right direction, if you're able to, put together a draft by December, then I would seek advisory opinion from the state on what we have so far in December.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Abby on that. Given the tenuous nature of what we're trying to do and the lack of case law that can guide us, it's about the only place we can turn. So I would recommend you highly consider doing that.
So that gives us 3 meetings?
No.
It's still 4.
4.
Not including our next meeting, because I think that's going to discuss the report card.
3 meetings after that.
The 2 in November and 1 in December.
Depending on how diligently you work on the report card, you may have an opportunity to do some substantive work aside of that report.
All right. Well, we'll see what we come up with next meeting on the 25th, which is a Monday, by the way. So make sure everyone has that in their calendar. Abby, any other items regarding the zoning? No.
No other updates at this time. You know, as we get closer, we can, in December, we'll review the full list, but I'll pull together, you know, we had talked about the solar article as well.
Right. Okay. Looks like the last thing to discuss is the minutes from September 21st. Did people have an opportunity to review those? Any amendments or changes you'd like to see made? I think I did see one typo. It said the word FIR, F-I-R, instead of for. Obviously not hugely consequential, but
There was another typo. I can't find the minutes now, but it was having to do with the common victular license. Like it was in the discussion of the juice bar place. I think it was the first bullet in that.
Okay.
Oh, where?
well, my comment was about the
I
school,
see it.
school in the woods in parentheses.
Oh, okay, school in the woods.
The
It's,
second paragraph.
and I see what Dave was talking about, the spelling on that. I can fix that.
But you see the one from Chris for the fur and for? I just can't look at my minutes.
I will find it.
Gotta
He said
read
it's
it
in the, by
backwards,
the school in the
Jessica.
woods.
All right. Anything else regarding the minutes for board members? All right, so we'll entertain a motion to accept the
Motion
minutes.
to accept the September 21st minutes with those changes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion about the minutes? Seeing none. Tom?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Ellen?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So the minutes are passed. Anything else, Abby?
Just also, if you could save that November 15th meeting date, that's a Monday. For
What time?
the, their meeting starts at 6 o'clock, I believe. But I will double check that when it gets closer. Because when it gets closer, we'll
Abby?
get the full agenda.
Abby, I believe they spoke tonight at the select board meetings just before yours, that they're going to hold that meeting. Right now, they're going to hold that meeting in person and hybrid. So
Okay.
you can attend via Zoom or you can attend in person at the Gillette meeting room at the police station. And they're going to start it at, right now it's scheduled to start at 7 p.m. to allow people to get back into town and perhaps get some dinner before they have to go to a meeting.
Okay. So everyone, please put that on your calendar. As we mentioned, that's where we're going to discuss the associate member positions, 2 of them that are coming up and expiring next month. They do expire next month, right, Abby?
Right.
All right. And please remember to get over to Carby Street, sign that A&R. Working hours till 4:30, 1 on Friday. So with that, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion on leaving? All right. Kate?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Ellen?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Thank you very much, everyone.
Good night, all.
Couple weeks. Don't forget
Okay.
town meeting. We're gonna
Oh,
sit
yeah.
together.
Yep.
Do we have a place to sit together?